The door has officially slammed shut on any chance of reconciliation, and the blood that is about to be spilled will stain the hands of someone we never expected. Emma has always worshipped the ground Anna walks on. If you ask me, their bond is one of the most sacred things left in this chaotic world. For Emma, watching Anna suffer through unimaginable trauma, being locked away in that damp, freezing basement, was a psychological breaking point. She cannot simply let it go. The image of her beloved grandmother suffering in the dark while others walked free has completely fractured Emma's sense of justice. She is a young woman running purely on raw, unfiltered emotion, and that makes her incredibly dangerous. On the other side of this impending collision, we have Jocelyn. Our girl has transformed before our very eyes into a hardened, calculated WSB agent. She carries the weight of the world on her shoulders, guarding a long-buried secret that could cost her everything. Jocelyn operates in the shadows, bound by strict protocols and classified directives that she cannot simply explain away to an angry friend. When she was at the castle, she was on a highly sensitive mission, completely unaware of the horrors happening right beneath her feet. But how do you explain the rules of espionage to someone blinded by grief? You cannot. The confrontation between these two is nothing short of a volcanic eruption. I am telling you, when Emma finally corners Jocelyn, the air in the room practically ignites. Emma does not hold back. She unleashes months of pent-up agony and rage. In Emma's mind, the timeline is crystal clear. Jocelyn was physically present at the estate during the exact window of time when Anna was being held captive. Therefore, Emma is completely convinced that Jocelyn had the perfect opportunity to orchestrate a rescue, to save Anna from that living hell, but actively chose to turn her back and walk away. Jocelyn desperately tries to defend herself, her voice cracking under the immense pressure of the accusations. She repeatedly swears that she had absolutely no idea Anna was locked in that subterranean nightmare. She pleads with Emma to understand that her mission was entirely separate, a covert operation that required her to stay laser-focused on her own targets. Jocelyn insists that if she had known, she would have torn that castle apart brick by brick to free Anna. But to a devastated Emma, these sound like nothing more than hollow, calculated excuses from a trained liar. But that's not even the craziest part, because Emma is about to cross a line from which there is absolutely no return. Blinded by her fury, Emma completely loses her temper and drops a massive bombshell. She looks Jocelyn dead in the eye and threatens to publicly expose Jocelyn's true identity as a covert WSB agent. Guys, my jaw hit the floor when I realized what this actually means. This is not just a petty threat between former friends. This is a literal death sentence. If you ask me, Emma does not fully comprehend the catastrophic magnitude of what she is threatening. If Jocelyn's classified identity is leaked to the public, every single cartel boss, international terrorist, and rogue operative that has a vendetta against the WSB will instantly put a target on her back. Jocelyn would become the ultimate prey in a global hunting game. She will fight tooth and nail to prevent Emma from revealing this secret, not just to protect her own life, but to safeguard the highly classified, life-or-death missions she is currently deeply embedded in. Right in the middle of this catastrophic crossfire stands Trina. Sweet, loyal Trina is thrust into the impossible position of playing the peacemaker. Trina completely understands the immense pressure Jocelyn is under, recognizing that she is bound by the ironclad, unforgiving rules of the intelligence agency. At the same time, Trina's heart breaks for Emma, because she sees the profound, agonizing pain that is driving Emma's reckless behavior. Trina is the only one trying to inject some sanity into this explosive situation. Trina desperately tries to de-escalate the tension, pleading with Emma to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. She tries to soothe the burning anger, reminding them both of the friendship they once shared. But every single attempt Trina makes is completely obliterated by the sheer force of Emma's uncontrollable rage. The emotional hurricane has grown far too powerful for anyone to contain, and Trina is left helplessly watching as the situation spirals into total madness. But that's not even the craziest part, because Emma, feeling completely unheard and desperate for vindication, decides to take matters into her own hands. She marches straight to Anna and unleashes the entire story. Emma holds nothing back, pouring out every single detail of her explosive confrontation with Jocelyn. She reveals the jaw-dropping twist that Jocelyn is a fully active WSB agent, and then she plants a highly toxic seed of doubt. Emma openly shares her horrific suspicion that Jocelyn deliberately abandoned Anna in that basement while executing her own mission. Now, we all know Anna is a seasoned veteran of the spy world. She understands the ruthless, compartmentalized nature of intelligence work better than anyone alive. Logically, Anna should recognize that Jocelyn was likely operating under strict orders and genuinely did not know about the captivity. But we have to remember the fragile, terrifying state of Anna's current mental health. She is currently being tormented by relentless, malicious hallucinations of Peter, which are constantly whispering poison into her ear and twisting her perception of reality. Those dark, lingering shadows of trauma make Anna incredibly susceptible to Emma's accusation. Even though Anna logically grasps the reality of WSB protocols, the emotional narrative spun by her grieving granddaughter strikes a dangerous chord. A dark seed of paranoia takes root in Anna's mind. She begins to question everything, wondering if the agency she once served so proudly has now trained Jocelyn to view her as acceptable collateral damage. The trust is shattered, replaced by a cold, calculating desire to uncover the absolute truth. I am completely convinced that this is the exact moment the storyline takes a terrifying, unpredictable turn. Anna, driven by a toxic cocktail of lingering trauma, hallucinatory pressure, and a desperate need for answers, decides to take matters into her own hands. She goes completely rogue. Anna begins to operate in absolute secrecy, hiding her true intentions and her investigative steps from everyone, especially Emma. She slips back into the shadows, becoming the lethal operative we all know she can be. But that's not even the craziest part. Because while Anna is allegedly conducting her secret investigation, a horrific tragedy strikes that will wreak devastation across the entire town. Out of nowhere, Jocelyn is subjected to a vicious, unprovoked, and incredibly violent attack. The sheer brutality of the assault is meant to send a message, or perhaps to silence her forever. Jocelyn is discovered the next morning in a remote, desolate location, broken, bleeding, and clinging to life by the thinnest of threads. When the news breaks that Jocelyn is fighting for her life in the intensive care unit, the entire community is thrown into a state of absolute paralyzed shock. The identity of the ruthless attacker remains completely shrouded in mystery, leaving the police scrambling for clues and the residents looking over their shoulders in terror. Was it a WSB enemy who finally discovered her identity? Was it a random act of violence? Or was it something far more sinister and deeply personal? This brings us to the most heartbreaking, psychologically complex twist of this entire saga. When Emma hears the news of Jocelyn's brutal attack, her world completely stops spinning. The blinding rage that had consumed her instantly evaporates, replaced by a suffocating, icy wave of sheer terror. Emma realizes that the timing of this vicious assault is far too coincidental. A terrifying, unthinkable suspicion begins to form in the back of her mind, a thought so horrifying she can barely breathe. Emma begins to suspect that her own beloved grandmother, Anna, might be the monster who orchestrated this brutal attack on Jocelyn. It is a jaw-dropping twist that completely shatters Emma's reality. She remembers the cold, unreadable look in Anna's eyes when she revealed Jocelyn's secret. She remembers the hallucinations of Peter that have been driving Anna to the brink of madness. Emma connects the dots in her mind, and the picture it paints is one of absolute, unforgivable betrayal. But here is the agonizing reality for Emma. She has absolutely zero concrete proof. It is nothing more than a dark, terrifying intuition born from guilt and fear. Even if she were to stumble upon a tiny discrepancy or a suspicious clue, what could she possibly do? The internal conflict tearing Emma apart is excruciating to witness. How can a young woman publicly accuse the grandmother she adores of attempted murder? The simple answer is she cannot. It is an impossible, soul-crushing dilemma. If you ask me, Emma is the true tragic victim in this unfolding nightmare. The psychological toll on her is going to be immeasurable. She will be forced to walk around with this agonizing secret, constantly torturing herself with a million what-ifs. Did her reckless threat to expose Jocelyn's WSB identity trigger this violence? Did her emotional confession to Anna push her grandmother over the edge into homicidal madness? Emma will be consumed by a toxic, suffocating guilt, forever wondering if she is the indirect architect of this horrific tragedy. The burden of this long buried secret will slowly eat away at Emma's soul. She will be trapped in a prison of her own making, terrified to speak the truth for fear of destroying her relationship with Anna and triggering an even larger, more catastrophic crisis in the town. Every time she looks at Jocelyn's battered body, every time she looks into Anna's eyes, the guilt will be a heavy, crushing weight on her chest. The dynamic between these three women has been irreparably damaged, pushed into the most tense, volatile territory we have ever seen. As the monitors beep relentlessly in the intensive care unit and Jocelyn's life hangs in the balance, Emma stands outside the glass, tears streaming down her face, trapped in a nightmare she may have created. And just as Anna walks up behind her, placing a seemingly comforting hand on Emma's trembling shoulder, the doctor rushes into Jocelyn's room screaming for a crash cart because her heart has just